The ink had barely dried on the Paris deal. 6 relentless days of negotiations, and I'd finally landed the international expansion my boss had chased for nearly 3 years. My body ached from the 10-hour flight, but triumph beat steady in my chest as I guided the rental through the streets of Southfield, Michigan. My suitcase waited in the trunk. I'd promised Mama I'd swing by before heading to my apartment, knowing she'd want to hear every detail and probably shove a plate of gumbo in my hands before I could finish. Evening sunlight bathed the old neighborhood in golden tones as I turned onto Sweetwater Lane. I smiled, noting that Daddy had finally trimmed the ragged hedges flanking the garage. My black pumps pinched as I stepped out, smoothing my wrinkled silk blouse and adjusting my charcoal pencil skirt. Still, I looked every inch the senior financial strategist who just changed the company's future. I dug the garage remote from my purse, fingers brushing the velvet lining. My baby, my vintage '72 Cutlass Supreme, was parked safely here while I was gone. The door whirred up. My heart stopped. Empty. No chrome. No sleek black paint. My car was gone.
Gone. No. No. No.
Please like, subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. The garage stood silent, mocking me with its emptiness. Only Daddy's lawnmower and Mama's rusting gardening tools remained. The Cutlass, my dream, my symbol of sacrifice, was gone. The remote slipped from my fingers, clattering to the concrete. My suitcase toppled sideways as I rushed toward the side door. This couldn't be real. I pushed into the kitchen and stopped cold. They were waiting for me. Mama, Daddy, and my younger sister Simone, seated at the kitchen table like some twisted family meeting. The smell of cornbread and collard greens filled the room, clashing violently with the dread curling in my gut. Daddy couldn't look at me. He stared at the table, his rough hands trembling slightly. "Ariel, baby," Mama said in that fake sweet tone she used when she knew she was about to ruin my day. "Please don't overreact." "Where's my car?" I asked, voice low, scraping like gravel in my throat. Simone straightened in her seat, all poised confidence, like one of her Instagram reels. "It's just temporary," she said quickly. "I'll pay it back. All of it." "Pay back what?" I growled. "Where is
my..."
Simone needed funding for her beauty empire, Mama explained, like that justified the betrayal. "We took it to Eastside Golden Loan," she said softly. Daddy finally spoke, his voice cracked and ashamed. "Got $45,000 for it." My knees went weak. I gripped the counter to stay upright. "You pawned my car?" I hissed. "It's a loan," Simone jumped in, her words frantic. "I didn't sell it. Once my cosmetics line launches, I'll pay it back. With interest. You'll have it back before the month's out." My mind flooded with all the nights I'd spent hunched over spreadsheets at Carter and Bell Consulting. 70-hour weeks. 6 years straight. No vacations. No shopping sprees. Just saving. Sacrificing. Building. I remembered the day Grandpa Clay first showed me under the hood of his best friend's Cutlass. I was 9, and the grease clung to my fingers for days. "These machines ain't just rides," he'd said, patting the chrome. "They're the dreams you make real." The day I bought mine, I cried behind the wheel. Not for the engine's purr or the flawless paint, but for what it meant. I turned to Simone, her lip gloss shining under the kitchen lights. "You stole my dream." "I don't care if you found the fountain of youth in a damn lipstick tube," I snapped, voice ice cold. "That car wasn't yours to take." Mama's lips thinned. "Now, Ariel, don't be dramatic. Family helps family. You used my spare key. You forged my name on the title." I turned slowly to Daddy. "You committed fraud." He flinched like I'd slapped him. "We're your parents," Mama insisted, her voice cracking. "We've always been fair to both you girls." "Fair?" A bitter laugh escaped me. "Simone got everything. I got silence." My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, numb. A notification from my insurance company. Notice of lien. 1972 Oldsmobile Cutlass. The ice hit my veins. This wasn't about money anymore.
It was about respect.
Something this family never gave me. You have 30 days, I said flatly, slipping the phone back in my coat. To get my car back. Or I press charges. You'd call the police on your own family? Mama gasped. I didn't blink. Family doesn't steal. I turned and walked out. The door slammed behind me, shaking the wall. Their stunned faces burned into my memory. So much for equal love. The pawn shop smelled like cheap air freshener and regret. I tightened my blazer around me, trying to look like someone who belonged, someone not completely unraveling. My reflection in the display case showed smeared mascara. I hadn't even noticed. Miss Freeman, the broker asked. His name tag read L. Gordon, and his voice was as flat as the lighting.
He slid papers toward me.
Your vehicle was pawned 5 days ago. Loan amount, $45,000, plus fees. I scanned the numbers. $3,000 in extra charges. My finance brain kicked in despite the fog. This is predatory. Classic car markets are volatile, Gordon said, unfazed. We take risks. Full payment due in 35 days, or the vehicle goes to auction. October 3rd deadline. I flipped the page. There it was. My signature. Except it wasn't. Too perfect. No swooping curve on the final E. A forgery. This isn't my signature, I said tightly, pulling out my ID and employment contract. Compare them. He frowned, comparing. The realization registered in his eyes. I'll need to speak to my manager. Please do. And pull the security footage, I added, voice calm now. I was in Paris 5 days ago. 20 minutes later, the manager returned with footage on a tablet. Simone's face filled the screen, all smiles and swagger, as she handed over my keys and forged my name. They'd committed real fraud. Not just family drama, felony-level deception. We can call the police right now, the manager offered. My throat tightened. The word police settled like cement in my chest. I need time to think. Back in my apartment, I sank onto the couch, still wearing my coat. The silence pressed in. I pulled a dusty photo album from the shelf, one I hadn't touched in years. Page after page told a story I already knew by heart. Simone's Sweet 16, catered garden party, live DJ, a 2-tiered cake with edible glitter. My 16th, nothing. I worked that night at the shoe store, saving for college apps. Simone's high school graduation, a limo, custom gown, red carpet. Mine? They missed it. Flight issues, they'd claimed. Yet they made it to Simone's dance recital the next morning. Christmas 2017, Simone standing next to a new VW with a giant red bow. I clutched a $30 sweater with the tag still on it. The pattern was always there. I just never wanted to see it.
My phone rang.
Uncle Leon's name flashed across the screen. I just heard, he said, skipping greetings. Your mama called, trying to make it seem like you overreacted. And what exactly did she say? That family helps family. That Simone's young and needs a chance. That you make good money. His scoff crackled through the phone. Baby girl, this ain't help. This is theft. I know, I whispered. I just didn't think they'd go this far. What you gonna do? I don't know yet. He was followed by Aunt Regina, always the peacemaker. They were just trying to help Simone get on her feet, she pleaded. No, I said, voice firm. They knocked me off mine. A knock at the door saved me from more guilt trips. Jessica, my coworker and my only real friend in Detroit, stood holding takeout. I brought pho, she said, eyes scanning my face. Girl, you look wrecked. I laughed, the sound foreign in my mouth. Thanks for the honesty. Over noodles and wine, I spilled the entire story. Jessica didn't blink. Just refilled my glass. They stole your car, Ari. That's criminal. I know.
She leaned in.
Then treat it like it is. For the first time, I considered it. The next morning, I texted Simone.
Coffee. Noon.
Cafe Verona. Just us. She was already there when I arrived, sipping a latte and hiding behind sunglasses, though the day was cloudy. I sat down, straight to business. Show me the plan. What?
The business plan.
Financial projections. Marketing strategy. Anything that proves you deserve the money you stole. She hesitated, then fished around in her knockoff designer bag. A crumpled vision board. Lipstick names scribbled in glitter pen. Sketches on napkins. No supplier contracts. No actual formula. No model. This is it. I asked, voice flat. You jeopardized my credit, my title, and our family's stability for this? I just wanted to prove myself, she whispered. Everyone talks about how successful you are. I wanted to be that too. I earned it, I said coldly. I didn't steal someone else's dream. She looked wrecked, eyes puffy, foundation creased. My first shipment arrived yesterday, she admitted. Half the containers were cracked. The formula separates. Customers are posting about it online. She paused, then added quietly, I need 10 days after the garage bombshell, Simone's beauty line lay in smoldering ruins. I tracked its downfall like a ticking clock. Day 3. Her supplier refused further shipments after bounce checks. Day 5. Social media flooded with refund demands. Day 7. Her bank account was frozen. Day 10. She stopped answering calls. At Bridge and Bell, my office filled with echoes of success, the Paris deal, once the crown jewel of my career, now just static in my ears. I stared at the numbers, unable to focus. The phone rang. Director Niles. Ariel, I need final projections by 4. You'll have them in an hour, I lied. Nothing was fine. Not the project. Not my focus. Not my family. Sunday, I parked on the curb outside Mama and Daddy's house. A small protest. Pot roast wafted from the open windows. Mama's peace offering. Daddy sat at the table like a man aging in real time. Simone arrived late, sunglasses hiding shame. We ate in thick silence. Forks scraping plates. It's just a car, Mama whispered. It was 6 years of sacrifice, I snapped. It was. Daddy returned with Uncle Leon trailing behind, jaw tight and eyes burning with fury. What the hell were you thinking, Gerald? He barked. Mama stiffened. This is family business, Leon. Exactly why I'm here. He pulled out the empty chair beside me. Somebody needs to stand up for the one y'all keep throwing under the damn bus. Daddy opened his mouth, but Uncle Leon cut him off.
No.
You listen. I reached for my briefcase. The cool leather grounded me. I slid out the folder I'd prepped the night before and laid the documents on the table. Title copy. State fraud laws. Pawn regulations. Sentencing minimums. This is a felony, I said quietly. Punishable by 2 to 5 years in prison. Mama gasped, color draining from her face. You wouldn't. I don't want to, I said. But this is my life. My name. My credit. And you jeopardized all of it. For the first time, Daddy actually looked at me, saw me. His voice cracked. What have we done to you, to us? Tears slipped from Mama's eyes. Real this time. Ugly. Shaking. Simone pulled off her sunglasses. Her Uncle Leon leaned in, voice all grit. So, what's the plan? Because that pawn shop ain't gonna wait forever. 25 days left, I said, flipping open my notepad. Then they auctioned the car. Mama dabbed her eyes with a napkin. What can we do? We find the money. Daddy thought they could pull a home equity line of credit, $30,000, but it'd take 2 weeks. Simone agreed to sell her BMW and clear her savings, maybe 12. I offered $6,000 from my emergency fund. Uncle Leon studied us all, arms crossed. I'll loan 5, he said. Only because Ariel shouldn't carry this alone. Even with everything, we were still short. The pawn shop wanted $15,000 up front just to pause the auction. Daddy called the shop first thing Monday. They'll hold off if we can wire 15 by Friday. It wasn't a solution. It was a pause button. But it was something. Later, at home, I sat on the edge of my bed holding a photo. Me and Grandpa Clay in front of his neighbor's Cutlass. My grin wide. His arms strong around my shoulders. Cars are just metal, he'd said. But what they stand for, that's priceless. Now I truly understand. Simone stood in the back room of a boutique in downtown Detroit, watching the shop owner appraise her designer scarf collection, the pride of her Instagram wardrobe. I can do 8,000, the woman said without looking up. These cost me over 15, Simone whispered, but her voice cracked. She nodded. Fine. Across town, Daddy stood in a manager's office, hands curled into fists. Night shift, he said. Gerald, you haven't worked nights in 20 years. I need the overtime. Temporary. Family stuff. The manager nodded slowly, sliding over the paperwork. At home, Mama wrapped up Grandma Essie's silver candlesticks, passed down for generations, and placed them in a box beside her pearl necklace. She walked into Fletcher's pawn like a stranger, heart pounding. The broker offered $3,000, barely enough to cover the interest. I skipped lunch all week. Took on 3 new accounts. The Paris expansion demanded everything, but the bonus it promised? That could be the bridge we needed. Jessica brought me that night, Simone called. Her voice sounded smaller than I'd ever heard. I didn't know, she whispered. 8 hours on my feet, people treating me like I'm invisible. You've been doing this for years. I leaned on the counter, silent. All those times I called you boring for canceling plans, she continued. You weren't boring. You were just responsible. 3 days later, we met at a coffee shop. She ordered a plain brew, no whipped oat cinnamon whatever. Her makeup was minimal. Nails short. She looked real. I was selfish, she said. Not just with the car. With everything. I'm sorry, Ariel. Truly. I wrapped my hands around my cup, the warmth easing some tension. Words are pretty, Simone. I know. She nodded. I'm working now. I'm learning. Back at Mama's, Daddy sat under harsh kitchen light, papers spread across the table. Mama stood in the doorway holding 3 loan applications, Simone's name on all of them. Credit cards. Buy now, pay later. Total. $80,000. We didn't know, she whispered. Next morning, they met with Mr. Bell at the credit union. This will delay your retirement 5 years, he warned. Mom, that Friday, I stopped by with my weekly portion. Daddy met me on the porch. Mama didn't follow him out for once. We failed you, he said. Way before we ever touched your car. We sat on the steps, wood creaking beneath us. All those years, we poured praise into Simone's dreams and just assumed you'd be fine, he said, voice thick with grief. You never asked for anything. So we figured you didn't need much. I didn't reply. The sky glowed orange with the promise of a storm. Then, a setback. The HELIC approval came, but with a 3-day delay for final processing. That's when Cornerstone Pawn called. Another buyer. Cash in hand. We just need 48 hours, Daddy begged over the phone. First money here gets it, the broker said. Cold. Final. Panic clawed at our throats. We scrambled. Simone drained her checking account. Mama sold her anniversary earrings. I maxed out my emergency credit. Still 3,000 short. Mama's voice cracked. It's not enough. Then the doorbell rang. Uncle Leon stood there, checkbook in hand. Family helps family, he said quietly, echoing Mama's words. Only this time, they meant something. The next morning, we all crowded into the bank. The digital clock above the teller's window ticked down to noon. Daddy's hands trembled as he signed the final authorization. At 11:42 a.m., the screen blinked. Wire transfer complete. We breathed. 3 hours later, I stood in front of Cornerstone Pawn, the early autumn sun gleaming against the chrome of my Cutlass. My receipt felt damp in my sweaty palm. Inside, the same broker blinked in recognition. Miss Freeman, he said, sliding over the keys. All square. The pen shook as I signed. He double-counted the cashier's check. I barely heard him. The metal of the keys burned against my skin. Familiar. Heavy. Outside, I traced a finger along the hood. No scratches. No dents. They detailed it, he said from behind me. Policy. I didn't answer. This moment should have felt like triumph. Instead, it felt like ashes. I climbed in,
Turn the key.
the engine roared, rich, deep, and alive. Tears blurred my vision as I pulled away. It wasn't just a car. It was proof that what I built mattered, that I mattered. And this time, no one. 3 days later, Mama texted. Sunday dinner. Daddy's grilling. 5 p.m. Come hungry. The invitation landed like a stone. I typed back, I'll be there. Some conversations couldn't live in silence. Sunday arrived bright and breezy. I parked on the curb again, the Cutlass purring proudly. Daddy stood at the grill, spatula paused mid-flip. Mama peeked from the kitchen, drying her hands on a towel. We ate in quiet. Simone picked at her collards. No one mentioned the elephant dining with us. Finally, Daddy cleared his throat and unfolded a piece of lined notebook paper. I betrayed your trust, he read. I failed you. I disrespected what you earned. Each sentence was deliberate, stiff, but true. Mama reached across the table. Please forgive us, baby. We were wrong. Simone pulled out a notebook. I've made a payment plan. I'll pay back every dollar, even if it takes 2 years. I looked at them. Healing takes time. I set down my fork. Trust isn't rebuilt in a day. They nodded, faces tight with something like hope. That was enough for now. Two days later, I sat across from Rachel Holman, attorney, no nonsense, glasses perched on the bridge of her nose. You have a strong criminal case, she said.
Forgery.
Title fraud. Identity theft. They'd likely do time. I stared at the framed family photo on her desk. What are my other options? A formal repayment agreement. Binding. Civil. No jail time. The next Sunday, we met again at Mama's. Uncle Leon sat beside me, arms crossed. The papers were passed across the table. Daddy's hands trembled as he signed. 2-year repayment. With interest, I said. Non-negotiable. Simone's eyes welled, but she didn't object.
She signed.
For once, my boundaries weren't suggestions. They were law. Later, Uncle Leon walked me to the Cutlass. I never wanted power over them, I admitted. Sometimes respect has to be enforced before it can be freely given, he said. The family reunion a month later became a reckoning. Aunt Regina clutched her wine, muttering, Everyone makes mistakes, honey. Time to let it go. Uncle Leon stepped beside.
Part 18.
Weeks later, I changed the garage code at Mama and Daddy's house. Installed a security tracker in the Cutlass. Leave us a spare key, baby? Mama asked. I met her gaze.
No.
She nodded. No protest. The mountain road curved ahead of me now, the sun stretching long over Colorado's ridges. The Cutlass rumbled beneath me, alive, beautiful, mine. 1 year since I almost lost her, I whispered, hand resting on the dashboard. You were right, Grandpa. At last week's dinner, Daddy showed me the addition he built onto the garage. A locked bay. Its own alarm. She's safe here now, he'd said. Only you have the code. Simone's life is smaller now. Simpler. She sends me $300 monthly. Not enough to cover what she owes, but she sends it. Every time. She's learning. Earning something feels different, she told me last week. Better than begging for it. I pulled into the overlook. Killed the engine. Below, the valley stretched wide. My finance students meet tomorrow, 20 young women I teach to protect their power. To draw boundaries. To say no. One asked to sit in the Cutlass last week.